Disruptive.
America that I fuck.
Weird thing to happen. So here's some developing news that's circulating around Canada's big grocery store chains, and anyone that is in Canada knows about the prices of groceries here. Well, much like the United States, it's pretty much outrageous that people can barely afford to put food on their table. But it looks like some sort of investigations are afloat into combating, or at least potentially getting involved in this issue. So this is from the Financial Post saying Competition Bureau obtains court orders and investigation into Loblaws and Sobeys. That's the big two giant competitors. The other one being Metro Food Basics. I think it's just called Metro, their parent company. It says Bureau's investigating the use of property controls in the grocery sector. This is from the Canadian Press, but reported by the Financial Post. And it states that the Competition Bureau has obtained 2 court orders requiring the parent companies of Loblaws Incorporated and Sobeys Incorporated to hand over information related to its investigation into alleged anti-competitive conduct. The Bureau is investigating the use of property controls in the grocery sector, which are clauses in lease agreements that restrict other potential tenants and their activities. The Bureau says these controls are hampering competition in the grocery sector. The Competition Commissioner applied in federal court in May to order Empire Company Limited and George Weston Limited to hand over records about real estate holdings, lease agreements, customer data, and other records. The Bureau said Tuesday this information will help determine whether Sobeys and Loblaws are imposing anti-competitive restrictions that negatively affect competition in the grocery industry. Spokespeople for Empire and George Weston did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Empire previously pushed back against the investigation, saying in a separate court application that the probe gives the commissioner the appearance of a lack of independence. It denied that property controls are anti-competitive. In May, the Competition Bureau said it had filed a motion to strike Empire's application for judicial review. Loblaw's parent company is cooperative with the Bureau's review, spokeswoman Catherine Thomas said in May on behalf of George Weston. Restrictive covenants are very common in many industries, including retail. They have helped support property development investments, encouraging opening of new stores and capital risk taking, she said in a statement at the time. The commissioner's probe is focused on the company's operations in Halifax, but also more broadly across the country. The court documents filed in May describing Empire and George Weston's holdings in real estate investment trusts, which count the company's own grocery banners and as major tenants. Though subsidiary Empire holds 41.5% interest in Crombie Real Estate Investment Trust, while George Weston has controlling ownership interest of 61.7% in Choice Properties Real Estate Investment Trust. The Competition Bureau revealed its investigation to the use of property controls in the grocery sector in February. At the time, Deputy Commissioner Anthony Dorcher told a House of Commons committee that property controls could be holding back growth for independent grocery stores and chains, and could also be a barrier for foreign players looking to enter the Canadian market. So this is kind of fascinating on the fact that they're really diving into kind of how these two big monopolies in the grocery sector operate and how they take dominant control over the markets. And for those who don't know about these two corporations, you saw, for example, that, George Weston, or Galen Weston, who's the son of George Weston, Galen Weston being the aficionado of the Loblaws Incorporated, isn't just responsible for Loblaws. They're also involved with President's Choice, which is the brand that they establish. No Name, grocery store chains like Loblaws, Zehrs, No Frills, T&T, I do believe, and independent grocer, Value Mart. Like there's a whole list of assets that are under this belt, including Shoppers Drug Mart too. I should add that there too. And also the fact that we revealed that Galen Weston has a holding position at Sick Kids Hospital. Um, Even though, he has no medical background, he has a business sense, which is why he's such a good advocate for a children's hospital to sit on the board of. And Empire Incorporated, that runs Sobeys, also runs Freshco and IGA, I do believe. Again, I have to look back at the launch. It's a very long list, and also has their brand compliments and so on. So it's a huge kind of monopolization of these two big giant corporations, and the fact that they dictate over a lot of the grocery chain, a lot of they also get into President's Choice has their own financial firms and markets like that. So the fact that they can dictate over that, and then they also have the real estate holdings to hold these stores in place, um, while trying to diminish competitiveness, is kind of eye opening. And the fact that they're obtaining all these large entities, buying up the basically the competitiveness of these chain stores to be part of their brand, is it's kind of alarming, and they're finally holding this accountable and bringing up this question of, do these large entities need to be broken up? Do we need to get into an antitrust suit again, like we did back in the heyday of breaking up these monopolies? Have they taken too much control of their power? This was also discussed with the media markets here in Canada, because as you know, Bell Media owns a huge majority of media markets here in Canada when it comes to radio, television, film, and production houses. Bell owns a lot, Rogers owns a lot, and they've pretty much dominated the sphere of media and communications. And I just saw something too that Rogers just purchased holdings for its own lifestyle brands coming into Canada. They had a deal with Warner Brothers or something that we'll get into eventually. So this is kind of a fascinating glimpse into how these monopolies operate. And even though personally I don't think this is going to help grocery prices itself, because if you look at who they're connected to, who they're aligning themselves with, because a lot of Loblaws uh, lawyers and lobby groups that represent this grocery chain are also involved in the Canadian Parliament. So the fact that they're trying to like hold them accountable, it almost kind of seems theatrical, because in the end it's not really going to affect grocery prices until we actually have some sort of grassroots stance on defecting inflation and stopping printing off money and sending it overseas. Until we do that, none of this is really going to address grocery store prices and the price of food and the cost of living. But it is good to know that they're acknowledging the monopolization of where our food comes from, where the groceries are coming from, who are the big key players that are dominating over this market, and how there is an anti-competitive force that's decimating against competitors that want to also operate in this market. And it kind of goes against the ideals of capitalism, because capitalism is supposed to thrive on the ability to have competitiveness. It's supposed to have competitors. It's supposed to have people that compete back and forth. Well, if you don't have competition laws that allows people to compete, then monopolies are just going to scoop them up, and you don't have capitalism anymore. You just have monopolies. And so it's good that they're at least bringing this to attention. But like I said, in the overall sense, it's not gonna affect your grocery prices. They're still going to skyrocket. And I know how outrageous it is as a Canadian myself. Like, I just went to the store the other day and literally a couple items almost came out to $60. I kid you not. Just a couple items in a bag just came to $60. Not even like expensive stuff, but it shows the state of affairs that we're in, and at least there's acknowledgement that people are aware of this problem. They tried to do the boycott Loblaws month in May. I don't think that went well. I think having that, again, you have to look at the fact that since they own this much retail, so many assets, it's easier said than done. You know, it's like when people say we got to boycott these companies because they're supportive of Israel. Well, that's pretty much every company that exists in the West. Because every company that exists in the West, the only reason they can exist in the West is they have to be supportive of our regime. And since our regime is very supportive of Israel, you kind of have to go with the flow. Otherwise, they have 9 ways to Sunday to take you down. So, trying to boycott those companies, again, easier said than done. And it's not really an effective approach to really combating the issue. That's just my take of it, in a sense. This is brought to you by Ground News, the versatile news app and website that gathers all the world's media on one place and allows users to compare coverage. Ground News gives you the access of thousands of sources worldwide, allows you to see the media blind spots, and even gives analysis on the bias and factuality of those stories. Weave your way through the mainstream narratives, the corporate lies, and have total access to find complete information that you deserve. Click on the link below and get 15% off a subscription. Be critical, be informed, be ground.